Hi there, everybody. Here's one of these things from the state that they hang on trees, maybe to catch different pests or something like that. We had a real disaster here maybe about 15 years ago, maybe a little longer than that, where they hung those up and ended up dropping something called BTK or something from the sky, and it was a live biological agent. It was the first time that I've known about. So this was kind of even before the days of chemtrails or whatever. So this might have been more like 20 years ago. And weirdly, it turned out that they didn't even find anything in those boxes. There was something found on a ship, but they had just hung the boxes just 'cause or something. So they ended up just putting a huge amount of this live agent all over. That live agent drop was mainly in the Seattle area. A live bacterial agent on a population. It was just bizarre. So that's kind of, when I'm looking at those boxes, it's like, oh boy, what are they gonna use as an excuse to drop an agent on us? Like, we found a flea in a box. And like I said, when the Seattle one occurred, it turned out that there'd been nothing. Nothing had wanted to go in one of those boxes. If you were a bug, would you go into that box? Would you go into a state sugar box when you had a nice apple tree to be in? I don't think so. So from what they found, it's like those bugs don't even go in those boxes. Maybe one falls and winds up in it. It's kind of like the documentary that I saw about how those drug-sniffing dogs aren't really sniffing drugs at all. They're sniffing ham and they're sniffing cheese. They like to sniff ham and cheese, and if someone who's transporting the drugs happens to smell like ham and cheese, well, then they're a goner. So here we are. It's been interesting. It's a little early this morning, and we noticed that the private sector over that away behind the trees, everyone is already at work. It's around 8:30 now. And with the public sector, there's not a soul there. So, yeah, I'm trying to teach economics to my daughter here and let her know the private sector works while the public sector shirks. You know, these are the ones that lounge around and laze around and take all the money, say they have none, while they build all the fancy schmancy they can. And then they take it from the people in the private sector. And the better the people in the private sector do, the more these guys take. Although, I don't know, the worse they do, the more they take too. They just get greedy. They just get greedy, and they don't know a darn tootin' thing about nothing. You know, when I went to the Evergreen State College here, I just remember all these nasty 20-year-olds running around screaming about socialism. I'd actually been to the Soviet Union, not that that means anything. What meant something was that my grandfather was a rancher out here, and my grandmother too. They were ranchers. She was a pilot. He had run ships in World War II, and they were out here saying, oh, it's all rednecks. They don't know nothing. They don't know nothing about nothing. And these were people that didn't even know how to get up in the morning and take a darn tootin' bath. They didn't even know. See, isn't that fun? They put these traffic circles in here as they're taking them out of Europe. So that's kind of a fun thing to watch. You know, why would they install them here when they've taken them out of Europe? It's just very fascinating to see. So anyway, here's our dog. We got a new dog here. And he's a hound. He's a little hound from the pound. He's got a little bit of terrier in him too, if you could see. And he really likes to hound around. Oh boy, does he like to hound around the town. So yeah, we had these arrogant people who moved in who knew nothing about economics, You know, my grandparents were ranchers. They raised cattle. They raised berries. They had springs that they raised the food they raised, they kept in the springs to keep everything cool and fresh. And they also had homes in Seattle as well. And we had like teenagers coming out from Boston saying, "You don't know anything. You need to have unions." Oh, just ridiculous people. You need socialism, and they didn't even know what they were. They didn't even know if they were a man or a woman. They didn't know if they were awake or asleep. They didn't know if the sky was blue or green. They had no clue about anything. These were people that were making potato soup with oil and putting licorice in it. And they're telling us how to run the country. They're telling us how to run the world. And these people are so filthy, they don't even wash their own bottoms. There's a story I have not told about these people who owned a restaurant, and it was called The Place. The Place. It was outside of town. I lived next door to them for a year. And they were a very old couple. They had retired. They had sold the place. The place is now called the Shipwreck Cafe. But at that time, it was still called The Place. And they said that they owned it in the 1960s. It was a popular, cute little place to go. I went there on a couple of occasions. A little diner off Highway 101. How quaint, right? A little diner off Highway 101 where there really wasn't anything else. Except maybe this place called Character's Corner that's more of a bar. So this is where your tourists and your truckers and everyone, you know, will stop if they want bacon and eggs on the way up to the Olympic Peninsula. It's just a little place to stop. They said that when the Evergreen State College opened up, that anyone who came in and ate at their restaurant from that college wiped their feces upon the walls. Wiped their feces upon the walls. And this, you know, could include faculty as well. You know, that was the level of student that's going there. And it's horrible that when people hear the word college, they think of studious people who know things and are good and want to learn. But the truth of the matter was that these were people who were so depraved, they could not even wipe their own bottoms. And now they're running the show here, and that's why America is in the hole it's in. You know, because they flushed the toilet finally, I guess, and brought the whole thing down with them. And now I read the funniest article I've ever read about a couple that was run over and stabbed to death by ISIS. And I actually thought, ha ha. You know, they said there's no borders. They look like they went to Evergreen. There's no walls. Everybody's the same. We can coexist. And they took their little bicycles and all their money, and they biked through ISIS territory, and guess what happened?
They died.
They got run over, and then after the guys ran over them, they got out and stabbed them because they were so excited they'd run over them. They just couldn't contain their excitement anymore. Bring him out or keep him in, but don't make people wait. Do you want to go across the street or not?
Yes.
Okay, then you need to hit the push the button.
I have to take care of him.
Okay, sweetheart, we're ready. Sorry, you guys, we've got a hound dog. But it is fun coming here when they're not here yet. And yeah, so they got totally stabbed, and then the jihadists took their picture. They took pictures of the whole thing. They were so proud. They looked prouder than a fisherman with a good catch. You know, and these are the people that are running the show here. It's all rainbows and unicorns And we're just all gonna come to work today so we can be on Facebook. And you think I'm making that up? I know people that work at these places and higher up still. And all they are doing is being on Facebook all day. Ask that crow, he knows. He's seen it all. Oh my God, he probably never even hears English anymore up there. You know? And some of them have like English names. There was one and I thought, oh, I'm gonna go see Kathy blah blah. And she was like, I know you say. I know you say. And she was the head of the records department of this building. You wonder why I don't come over here much. I wanted records about something called the Client Assistant Program that never answered the phone and is a private entity and yet always advertised by the state, even though it's a private organization. And she said, me no you say. Me no you say. Me no. And never ever answered that. And when I went up in person with the request, they sent me away. You no be here. You no. You no. I just don't know why anyone bothered to teach me English. Because the only replies I ever get back in this life are, me no. Me no you say. Okay, there's your little Washington State thing that took down all their lovely bushes. Isn't that silly? The one good thing about that union place that's there to ensure that shirkers can continue to shirk into shirk-ternity. This is the only time when the air's okay up here. I'm a little asthmatic, and so this is kind of Smoker's Corner. Boy, it's like a little resort paradise up here, isn't it? It's like a little resort for the shirkers. See, they have their own little rubber room up here where they can just kind of wander hither and yawn like cows. Now, we were up here the other night. It was gorgeous. I'm so sorry I didn't have the camera. Right now, there's fires all around. But we were at a place that had collapsed a few years ago, and we saw other places that are collapsing now. So this place was built not so well, and we'll show you some of that. Now, we're coming up. Hey, Simon.
Simon, come.
We're coming up here to Smoker's Alley. Thank God we're early, because they really go crazy with the smoking.
Mama, look at the cafeteria.
Yep.
It's really ugly on the inside.
It is. It is. Now here's your giant ashtray paid for by the state of Washington. That looks like a, what do you think? Is that like a $500 or $1,000 ashtray? How much? I've never seen such an ashtray. Here they've got their picnic tables. And so there we've got somebody there doing his little morning crosswords. And it really was pretty here the other night. We really have to come back again. In the light of day, it's hard to take this place. Oh, I already smell cigarette smoke, which probably shouldn't be legal at a Capitol, because there are asthmatic people who do need to visit the Capitol, and it makes it really hard for them. Hi there, sorry about that. He's a bad guy.
He's naughty. Okay, can I deal with him?
There's this kind of smoke coming out of this urn here, if you can see. And that's just kind of the state for you in a nutshell. the waste of the state, the pollution of the state. And here's some more architectural madness. As you can see, you cannot go here. The caution tape, I don't think a murder was committed. I think it's more of this. They had a whole thing cave in here a few years ago. They get so grandiose. And I'm not talking about the old one that almost slid down the hill because of the earthquake. We're talking about, it's like they're socialists. Socialists don't know how to build. In Sunday school, they talk about the wise man builds on the rock and the foolish man builds on the sand. And I don't think these people went to Sunday school, so they don't know those things. But we've also got more signs of collapse coming up over here.
Look at the inside, Mom. Look at the inside.
Yeah, and see, you're not allowed to go up the stairs. They build things wrong here. It's good to learn about people that don't know how to do things and why we pay them money. You know, I've been learning that it's really not these people's fault. They were indoctrinated in a way. You know, they learned wrong at a young age.
Should I let him free range on the fish?
Nah, because he'll bite. He'll bite a baddie, and then we'll go to jail.
Let him run around.
He'll get the baddies. He'll drain the swamp. He would be a good swamp drainer. Hi there, Crow. Are you watching it all? Okay, now the real damage is that way, but Olivia wants to come this way right now. There's a pavilion that just goes on that's all grass with a parking garage underneath, and the whole thing collapsed a few years ago. And we'll go walk over there. It's that way.
Oh, Mama, look at the parking lot.
Yeah, it's wild. You know, one time, one of the weirdest documents I ever saw in my life was, it was one night I was walking around and there was a room lit and there was a document that was out and it was talking about all the,
oh, yes. Good morning, Becky.
all
give
this...
Give shout when you get a chance. Chris W564.
No, 425, yeah, you're right.
-223-1681.
And that's from Chris. And there was this document that was sitting out about how it was about earthquakes and that there'd been like a lot of them happening and stuff. And like, I don't know, like they didn't want people to know, like these earthquakes that were happening, like in the national forest or something. There was just like this weird document. It was kind of around here. And I remember I called them about it the next day and they were like, no, there's no such document, there's no such thing. But they do tend to leave out things that you could read if you want. These guys are a little bit more surreptitious and they close their windows, but a lot of them don't. A lot of them don't at all. I think this part's just like a conference room. Oh, oops, I just filmed a guy. I didn't mean to do that. Uh-oh. Am I going to get in trouble? So, you know, this is, at least he was from the U.S. It really bothers me that there's so many people with security clearance that are from China. Probably the worst country on earth. China. Nice, wow. And we still don't really see a whole ton of folk out. Honey, let's go up to that area that collapsed and we'll show it. Do you guys mind? Okay, we're going to go up to the collapsing thing. I think that they'll enjoy going back to that. But if you can see here, it might be hard to see, but it's like wavy gravy up here. It's all totally collapsing in. They did such a poor job. And I remember them redoing up here too. And they sure didn't redo. It really does. It's like I feel walking on it like it could just, the whole thing could collapse. I think they need some orange cones over there too. Honey, do they need orange cones over there? Yeah. Here's another ashtray. I would love to do a film on the ashtrays of the Capitol because they're everywhere and it is really hard. Like, I am not a cigarette smoker. I can imagine being here probably wants to make someone smoke a lot, but there's a smoker there. We've got a smoker. And then there we've got smokers over there. There were times when I was coming up here a lot and there would just be a gauntlet, and on a day with no wind, it would just be impossible to do anything. Here's the Attorney General's office. That used to be the Attorney General's office. When the earthquake happened, they probably realized it was unsafe, and so they moved it over here and put DNR in that building instead. So there's the AG's office, and good luck getting anything out of them besides a form letter. I used to see like such angry people coming out the door there. You knew they got no help. You knew nobody did anything. There's a lot of party balloons I always notice in the AG's office. Flowers, plants. It seems like it's kind of a party place where they just party all day long. It's like, it looks like a children's hospital in there. No, it goes this way too, Angel. It really does. Are we walking through the cones? Is that it? You want to go a different way?
Can I show you?
Because right here, it goes right up right there.
Yeah,
the other way means we have to suffer a lot of cigarette smoke. This is a little bit more out of the way, sorry. Okay. I used to know a guy that worked in the Archive and Records Center. Actually, Doc went here a lot. And I do have some excellent stories about... We're going to go up here, and then we go over the bridge. Is that okay? Yeah. The Archive and Records Center right here, Doc used to hang out in all the time. Because this is really the place where you're going to find stuff. The Archive and Records Center. And one day when he was up here, he went to the back of the building, and I think he wanted to get something to drink, and there was like a water fountain, and under the water fountain he noticed a box that had water dripping on it, a box that was totally full of water. And so he was like, what? So he pulled the box out from underneath and he opened it up, and it was like all these really old papers from like the 1850s, 1840s and stuff. And it was totally about how no tribes would sign any treaties here. So basically Washington State had no treaties signed. It's like really bad. When he found it, everybody kind of freaked out on him. He did find out that there was something very similar that's kind of locked away at Yale University. As he started kind of doing stuff. But yeah, so that's the Archive Center. So who knows what's in there? I don't think they even know what's in there. They were totally shocked. Like, what's this? You know? And he's like, I don't know. It's under your water fountain and it's dripping and wet and it's from the 1800s. But that's what you get with state shirkers. They're going to do stuff like that. And so thank goodness for Doc for being in there and catching it and making sure that the documents were safe. And Doc is not a worker. He just is a volunteer citizen who just cares and tries to make things right, because there's a lot of slapdash going on. Now we can either cross the street here. Okay, now here is the area that collapsed. All this grass and green is built over a parking garage. And It's basically ready to collapse again. This whole area was beyond orange coned for, I'd say, a good 3 years, if not more. I didn't even think, hi there, honey bun. I didn't even think they were going to redo it like that because it collapsed. But they put it back up like it was. So this is all built, like I said, over a parking garage, and it all collapsed a few years back. Major. But I guess that just means more money for them on some level, huh? They can hire George to come and clean out the mess or something. Now we've got people starting to come. And, you know, here's our... That guy's definitely from like China or something, walking over there. You just don't see a whole lot of Americans. It's very, very dwindling. You don't see that in other countries. Do you go to Peru and go, oh wow, everyone's African here running the government of Peru? You know, it's kind of weird. I did see that in Fiji. In Fiji, no, actually that didn't happen in Fiji. In Fiji, the African population tried to take over, and the Indian population won the votes. I was there one year, and the indigenous population had a fit. And there was like a kind of a bloodless coup that occurred there. So no, nobody likes other people running their show. And no, we're really not a nation of immigrants. I really get tired of that. We were settlers here. The immigrants came later, and it was a terrible mistake. We're a nation of people who are working hard to support and keep immigrants afloat. We're a nation of people who have been taken over by communists since the 1930s. And look at this unimaginative, horrible architecture. And it all fell down. They had a chance to make it right. Look at this. It looks like Prozac pills coming out of the wall. This thing is new. That's kind of what you get from these postmodern fools. And they're not postmodern. They're not even modern. They're daycare fools. Their daycare, this is a giant daycare center, and they just walk around it. They don't even have to look both ways for cars, because they just set the whole thing up on a campus so that they're just all safe, and they can just walk around and smoke cigarettes all day and be on Facebook. And, you know, if you look at the AG's office, right, looks like a children's hospital. All it is balloons, cake, parties. I wrote them one question about 3 months ago, and every month I get an email that says, we want to answer your question, but it's being delayed. It's just being delayed. And it's like, what? I asked you one question in your AG questionnaire thing 3 months ago, and the only answers I get are, it's being delayed. But see, now here, coming around the bend, you got your Chinese right there. And they're not even speaking English. See, China. We from China, but we work at state capital. We China spy. And they're over there. There another one, see, all the way across the way there? Ooh, she in good camouflage. From China. China. Okay. And now we've got our, now here's a good shot. We've got our Prozac building and the Capitol. How do you like that? Is that a good Evergreen State College thing for you?
Mama,
Yes, my love.
look how cute Simon's being.
He's great, isn't he?
Oh, look at that.
You guys are the best. Hey, Simon. Hey, Simon. You're a little love. He is such a little love. Are we going to continue our journey?
He says yes.
All right, okay.
Mama, look. There's a cart for the real workers here.
Yep, there's the workers and the shirkers, huh?
Shirks and works.
The shirkers and the workers. So that's for a real worker, the ones that keep the grounds going. You are right about that. The plumbers.
That drain the sewers when...
We have a lot of plumbers around here.
When Taco Tuesday comes around.
I guess it's that. I've never seen so many sewers problems as around here. And I've wanted to do some vids on it, but it's just too gross, too stinky. But there's always a street torn up and a big vacuum and just a horrible mess. Isn't this lovely? Now this is funny. They'll get like the really super communist ones that will say, oh, don't have the lawn anymore. We're going to make a garden and stuff like that. And then it just ends up going totally fallow. This still looks like Cuba. You know, let's have some overly grandiosity that's completely unkempt at the same time, right? And let's just be pompous about it all. So here you've got your little decay there. Here we are at Capitol Campus, and as you can see, it just totally really disgusting. There's some sort of little North Korea view for you right there, or little China, I should say. Little China. We've got little China here. See, they grow cabbages so everybody have food. They grow cabbages so everybody have food. Yeah, now this is like one of their growing projects. And the stuff always dies. I've never seen one person harvest anything from up here. I really hate these urban grow projects. See, we grow stuff that nobody gonna eat. It's just gonna look stupid. Okay, and here we have Bataan Death March, North Korea,